We do know Verlander's going game one for the Astros.
Yeah.
What a shot.
That's the only thing we know about any of the starting pitching is that Verlander is going game one.
Verlander goes game one, but obviously the safe assumption is that Nathan Eovaldi goes game one for the Texas Rangers. It's interesting. This is a guy that the Astros in the past have tried to get.
Yeah.
A couple of times they tried to get him, the Alvin native, but they weren't able to wrangle him in because, well, he's a little expensive. And he does
Just
have a
little bit.
history of being injured. So
he's like when I look at the starting pitching for the Rangers, he's the only one that scares me. He's the only one that when I look at him, I'm a little bit worried. But having him against Justin Verlander, especially with the way Justin Verlander has started his last few starts, it doesn't even concern me that much in the slightest, especially because when you look at these teams as a whole, and I know we want to later go position by position and kind of compare everything. But when you look at this team as a whole, I just don't see any spots where I see very few spots where the Rangers have the win over the Astros. So I'm feeling really good going into this series, and I'm absolutely feeling really good going into game one with Verlander on the mound. I don't care if Eovaldi's up there. It doesn't matter to me. I'm still a little sad that we didn't work, just from a sports fan standpoint, that we couldn't work it to where the storyline of Verlander versus Scherzer in game one, that's not realistic. It's not going to happen. But I am very, very confident in Justin Verlander starting game one.
So it's going to be interesting to see which Eovaldi shows up for the Texas Rangers when they do put him out there on the mound again. This is the safe assumption that he goes game one, because why wouldn't they go with him game one? Remember, he got hurt. And he missed basically the entire, he missed at least half of the month of July. He missed all of August. He returned early in the month of September, was a shorter stint kind of guy. Went an inning and a third, then 2/3, because they did not have a rehab stint for him.
Right.
And then he went 3 1/3. Then they kind of extended him out in his 2 starts after that to 5 innings. Then he finished poorly in those last 2 starts of the regular season. 5 innings, 5 runs, 3 1/3, and 7 runs. But in the postseason, he has come out and pitched like the guy that he was early in the season for them. 6 2/3 against Tampa, 1 run, 8 strikeouts, no walks. 7 innings, 7 strikeouts, no walks, and 1 run allowed against the Baltimore Orioles the other day. What I'm going to go ahead and suggest is check his fingers. All of a sudden he walks nobody, check his fingers. I'm just saying.
I wouldn't be surprised by that at all.
Just check his fingers.
Dirty old cheaters up there.
But you're right.
Their fingers do weird things up there in South Oklahoma, too.
Now, this is a guy that has faced the Astros 2 separate times in the postseason. Of course, both those times with the Boston Red Sox. 2018 in that ALCS that the Red Sox would win. He was great. 2 games, 1 start, 2.45 ERA in his 2 outings. And then in 2021, he was not as good. He actually went 1-2 in that series. 3 games, 2 of those were starts. He came in, I don't know if you remember, one of the biggest hits in that series in Boston. He came in relief in the 9th inning. 2 on, 2 out, 3-2 count or 2-2 count. Jason Castro hits a single to right center field, drives home Correa. That was I'm going to say, of all the ballparks I've been in, that was one of the greatest atmospheres. But I am a little bit worried about Eovaldi because he is one of those, seems like the big moment. He likes it. He pitches pretty well in it. I mean, career postseason numbers of a 2.70 ERA in 13 games, 8 starts, 6-3 record. He's got a little bit of that mother bleeper in the postseason that you don't like.
Yeah, but I'm only worried about him if he goes deep into a game. I'm only worried about him if the Astros don't run the pitches up on him. Like if they don't start hitting the ball around on him and they don't touch him up, it's fine. It's just get him out of there as fast as humanly possible. So you have to bring in that Rangers bullpen. That's the most important thing. So from a pitching standpoint, yeah, he's concerning, but the way they worked the plate in the ALDS, if they continue to do that in the ALCS and run the pitch counts up on Eovaldi, I'm not even a little bit concerned about what's going to happen in the game itself, because if you can get him out of there after 6 and the Rangers have to bring their bullpen in 7, 8, 9, I'm feeling a lot better, as long as Justin Verlander also has maybe not a crazy dominant start, but a quality start.
If Verlander gives you what you got against the Minnesota Twins, you're in a great spot.
Exactly.
6 innings of shutout ball, 4 hits, 6 strikeouts, 3 walks. There's going to be traffic at times. He's not going to be as efficient in terms of throwing strikes like he used to be. Like we've just not seen him throw as his fastball command isn't where it used to be, because I feel like he's a guy that has to rear back, but he has said that he kind of tweak some things mechanically, which a lot of pitchers always say, but I think Verlander's one of those guys that absolutely does that.
Yeah.
He tweaks something mechanically towards the end of the season. We saw the results after he did it. 8 innings, 1 run against Seattle, 5 innings of shutout against the Diamondbacks, and then again 6 innings of shutout against the Twins. Now, this Rangers lineup is a lot scarier than any of those lineups that he faced in any of those starts that were really good at the end of the season and now into the postseason. But my question to the three of us is, as we go into this series, and to me, it's a yes. Is he the biggest key to this series? And I ask that because he's going to start game 1. You would assume he starts again in game 5. The Astros probably, given the question marks across the rest of the staff, more years than any other years, need him to probably win both games, correct?
I mean, yes. It's tough because let's say the series doesn't just he comes out for game 5 and he just doesn't work out. That second game doesn't happen. To me, that makes Framber the biggest key on the starting staff, because if you have bad Framber with Justin, with JV, I feel confident that he can at least go 1-1. If he has those 2 playoff starts, 1-1 is worst case scenario for him in my mind.
Yeah,
Framber could very, very well go 0-2 with the way he's pitched lately. So in my mind, if the series gets extended and it goes beyond 5 games and we get into a game 6, that is terrifying to me. And if Framber can kind of tweak some stuff and turn it around, he is a bigger key on the starting staff for me than Justin Verlander is. But again, like Justin Verlander going out there and having a quality start in game 1 and setting the tone for what this team does in this series, I guess maybe kind of puts him above Framber. I'm 50-50 on that. It's a toss-up.
I think your point is great on Framber. I just think that I'm going in, unfortunately, with the assumption that he's not going to be great.
Yeah,
is that
fair.
wrong of me?
No. That's fair. That's absolutely fair. I just want him to be great. I want him.
Yes, of course. He needs to be Cy Framber.
Exactly.
Even though he's not 1-1, he was pitching like,
or at least like 85% of Cy Framber.
Quality start Framber.
Yeah,
quality start tour Framber. Bring him back.
Not poop start Framber. I'll go with that. That'd be totally fine. That's why Framber is the bigger key to the starting staff for me. Is if you do get those quality starts out of him, that can completely change the makeup of what they do in the ALCS and possibly moving forward into the World Series.
Framber over his last 3 starts, 5 1/3 versus the Royals, 10 strikeouts, but 6 earned runs. Then against Seattle, he was 4 innings, 3 runs, 7 strikeouts, 5 walks. 3 walks at least in all these starts, by the way. And then against the Twins, 4 1/3, 5 runs, 7 hits, 5 strikeouts, 3 walks. My question before we kind of get into the we'll get into the breaking it down position by position here in just a second. If you had to pick one guy in this Rangers lineup that scares you more than any other, who you picking?
It's Seager.
He was awesome this year.
I mean, he's been the most consistent guy on their team. There are a lot of guys, especially a lot of younger guys who have stepped up for them, but Seager is the most terrifying person in the lineup for me. He's the one who can really turn a game on its head for the Rangers, and if the Rangers steal games away from the Astros, it's going to be because of his bat.
Andrew, if you're picking one that scares you in the Rangers lineup more than any other, who you taking?
It would have been Seager, but just for the sake of not repeating what Josh just said, I'll go with Adolis Garcia.
Oh,
bleep hole.
That's a good choice too, though.
The power that he has in his bat, if he connects on a couple of mistakes here or there, can flip a series on its head.
I was going to go with him as well. Because you just go pull up I just pulled up his career numbers against the Astros. He's hit more home runs. He's hit more home runs against the Astros than any other team in his career. He's only a 266 lifetime hitter against Houston, or 267, but 12 home runs in 47 games. He's been an Astros killer. This season, they actually reined him in quite a bit. He only hit 188 against them, but he did still hit the ball over the fence 3 times. He's just got stupid power. And if you throw it over the middle of the plate, look, I'm not too worried overall. I mean, Verlander will give up a home run, but in all likelihood, it's going to be a solo home run. You're worried about the likes of Urquidy, unfortunately, Javier, because those guys put guys on base. They get some traffic. And even Framber. Framber gave up a career high in home runs this year. So, that guy absolutely terrifies me at the plate as well. So let's kind of go through some of the spots in terms of who has the advantage in what spot. We'll start off behind the plate. Who has the advantage in this series between the Astros and Rangers?
In Dusty we trusty.
Get the rest of the line out so I can, say my thing.
No.
Please?
We're not doing that anymore.
Okay.
I had people texting me yesterday asking why I'm musty, and so I'm not doing that anymore out in public in the open. I'm gonna go with Martin Maldonado, and I'm gonna go with the Astros just specifically because of what he did do for the Astros in the ALDS and what he could continue to do for them in the ALCS. If we see a Martin Maldonado who was throwing guys down the way he did in that Diamondback series at the end of the year, and then he's calling a game the way he called in the ALDS, then the edge goes to Martin Maldonado. And then if you need the bat, you can bring in Yainer Diaz. So I'm wrong, but
you're definitely wrong.
I'm wrong, but my gut just tells me Astros because it's gonna help the pitching out so much.
Yeah, I mean the Rangers have
I know
a mash unit in Mitch Garver and Jonah Heim.
Jonah Heim is so good.
Both of them can hit the ball over the fence. They hit Garver hit 19 home runs, Heim hit 18.
Yeah.
Obviously, they're both. I mean, look, when you got that as your op, but I say that. I mean, look, how many home runs did Diaz hit this year? 22, 23?
I thought he had 28, no?
No, that was it like I have the number right here. I don't know why I'm asking. It's right in front of my face. Yainer Diaz hit 23.
Yeah.
And Maldonado hit 15.
Yeah, so
it's not like they lack for power.
It's just
and Maldonado hit 2 of those home runs in a game against the Rangers.
Yeah.
So you know what? Josh is right. Astros advantage behind the plate.
Thank you.
Suck it, Arlington. Suck it.
Losers
is right. First base, guys. We go to the first base position. Obviously, Jose Abreu did not have the world's best season in the regular season, but had a great ALDS. Nathaniel Lowe, to me, is one of those guys I absolutely hate.
Yeah.
And I say that because he doesn't look athletic. It's like he's got a protruding beer gut, and he's got this goofy-ass stance and a terrible mustache, and he's a lefty at first base, and you're just terrified that he's going to yank one down the line because he doesn't look like he's going to be that good of a player, and he just does stuff that makes him a pest. But the advantage still, to me, goes to Jose Abreu based off the way that he's played recently.
Yes, and if you look at what Lowe's done recently, he's only 4 for 25 in the postseason so far.
That's not good.
Yeah, I'm giving this to Jose Abreu. And you think about what Jose Abreu did since he came off of his IL stint, he's actually looked good as a defensive first baseman. He's had some really, really nice moments on some line drives that were blasted right to him, a couple that were foul balls that he went after, one he didn't get, one he did get. So I like what we've seen from Jose Abreu defensively, and if adding what he has done, so what he did in the ALDS, I'm taking Jose Abreu for sure.
Andrew?
Jose Abreu. I think that
We're homers.
What he showed in the ALDS, to me, even if he's not able to replicate the level of play that he showed in that series, he has turned things around to enough of a degree where I believe that he's going to accidentally run into 2 or 3 pitches over the course of this Rangers series that could tip a game in the Astros'
He walloped
favor.
at least one ball in that last series in Arlington. I mean, just mashed it into the second deck. Second base, Marcus Semien versus Jose Altuve. Semien had a great year, 826 OPS. He's a good player. He's a problem. He's always hit well against the Astros. This is the tightest spot in terms of who's got the advantage of what. But the edge always has to go to Jose Altuve. Yeah. He's the more accomplished player. He's still the better player.
Especially because what he does against the Rangers and what he's done against the Rangers this year. So, yeah, Jose Altuve.
Now, the shortstop, I think we're all going to agree there on Jose Altuve. The shortstop position is interesting because at the plate, it's blatantly clear. Yeah. It is Corey Seager. He was one of the best players in Major League Baseball this season. Only played 119 games and hit .327 with 33 home runs. And he hit the home run in game 3 of the ALDS. I think that's the only home run he's hit this postseason. But he has played well. He drove in good Lord, he drove in a total of 9 runs in that series.
That's wild.
He's driven in a total, or excuse me, that was walks. I'm sorry. he had 9 walks in that series. That's a lot of walks. So because he had a 5-walk game in game 2, which is the most ever. He's the advantage there at shortstop at the plate, but he is not great defensively. He's an issue there at times for them. Yeah. Jeremy Pena is the clear edge defensively at shortstop here. But the edge still has to go to the Rangers here, correct? Yes. Because Semien can flat out rake.
It's cool because it's World Series MVP versus World Series MVP.
Fake World Series.
But that's fair.
He also won that. He did win that World Series in Arlington.
Yeah, but the edge does have to go to Seager because of his offense. I mean, it's not so. Jeremy Pena is a much better fielder than Corey Seager is, but Corey Seager is a markedly, exponentially better hitter than Jeremy Pena is. So the edge goes to him for sure.
All right, third base, Or I guess I didn't even. You're going Seager, correct?
Yeah, I would go Seager as well.
We just assume that. It's fine.
Third base, Alex Bregman, rough ALDS up against Josh Young. Even though he's a Red Raider, I got to root against him here, obviously. Young missed the end of the season there, had an injury, came back in the postseason so far. Has actually been pretty good. But the biggest issue with him is the swing and miss. He is a guy that strikes out a ton, 151 times this year in 515 plate appearances. That's a lot of strikeouts, only 30 walks. He's a really good player. He can put the ball over the fence. He can be a game changer from that standpoint. But when you add in the defense here, and even if Bregman's been a little bit up and down, to me, it's pretty clear who has the advantage in this one, and it is Alex Bregman.
See, I'm going to give the Rangers the advantage here. Yeah, I agree that I think Young is a better hitter. And I know Alex Bregman can mean more, and if MLB.com has the article of the position-by-position breakdown, and I just agree that I'm giving the Rangers the edge.
They have the Rangers with the edge?
Yeah, they have the Rangers with the edge.
That's surprising.
Young has been so good in the postseason for them so far. And Alex Bregman, he has the experience and he has the track record, but right now with what each of them did in the ALDS and what each of them has done in the postseason, I'm giving the Rangers the edge at third base.
For me, one of the most important skills you can have at the plate is the ability to put together good at-bats that stress the pitcher and eventually lead to contact. And that's something that I think you can trust Alex Bregman to do on an extremely, extremely consistent basis. Josh Young, do not feel that way with him whatsoever. Do the numbers in the ALDS maybe change the picture, maybe change things ever so slightly? Yes, but the track record with Bregman is there. It's not with him. And because of that, I have to go with Bregman just because I know that he's going to be able to stress the pitchers. And in a 7-game series where you're going to be seeing guys in these bullpens multiple times, you're going to be seeing these starters multiple times, I think that's going to be a telling difference at the end of the day.
I do agree with you on the at-bat part. You have to be able to grind these at-bats out. Let's go to the outfield now. In left field, Evan Carter has been a guy that's been he's been awesome for the Rangers. The Astros are going to split things up with Brantley and with Jordan, we would assume, in most of these games. I mean, I actually am interested to see because they hate playing these guys on that turf in Arlington. I know you guys haven't been there.
Yeah.
I've been down on that field multiple times.
Is it bad?
It's god-awful. It is the worst playing surface I've ever touched in my life. It's like concrete.
Ugh.
It's off, and I get why they don't want to put Jordan out there on his knees. They don't want to put Brantley's knees out there. So I'm interested to see how they execute it. But let's just go off of Jordan and Michael Brantley versus Evan Carter, and I guess you could slide Jankowski in there, but they're probably not going to play him there. Who has the edge there?
This one's tough for me because Michael Brantley and Jordan Alvarez are just better to me, period, but maybe not defensively. I'm going to give the edge to the Astros. I don't care who it is. And then it's weird because when you think of what's happening in left field, you also have to think about the DH spot too, because either of these guys are doing either of those things at any given time. But I'm going to give the edge to the Astros. Anytime you have Jordan and his name against anybody at any position, you're going Jordan because the dude's just ridiculous.
Yeah, I would still take Michael Brantley over Evan Carter.
Yes.
I know that he's hurt and everything, but I like the pro. I like the guy that's been there, done that. Andrew?
I'm going to be the dissenter here and take the Rangers with Evan Carter just because I think Jordan's going to be playing the majority of the time at DH, like with what you mentioned. Now, I guess the majority of the games are being played at Minute Maid, so in theory, in a 7-game series, Jordan would be out there and left for 4 out of those 7 games potentially, but just assuming that it'll be more Michael Brantley than Jordan Alvarez, I'll give a slight edge to Evan Carter just because, yes, Michael Brantley looked healthy and looked great in the ALDS. I don't know how that shoulder and how that body is going to hold up out there, so because of that and that alone, I'll give a slight edge to the Rangers.
Center field, McCormick versus Leody Taveras.
McCormick.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, that's not even close.
Chaz hasn't hit for power so far in the postseason. He has been getting hits, though. I think it's something that we've kind of overlooked. When he's played, he's been getting hits. We'll see if Dubon gets a start out there at some point, but I think it's going to be McCormick for the majority of the series. I'm going to go with McCormick.
Chaz turns things around a little bit, and I bet you he goes deep 1 or 2 times in this series.
Oh, I'd love that.
The interesting one is right field, of course, because of Garcia versus Tucker. Now, look, we talked about Garcia earlier. This is a guy that can be a game changer with the power. 39 home runs. Kyle Tucker is no slouch with the home run bat either. 30, 30, 29 his last 3 seasons. We talked about how he crushed the Rangers once again this season, but he's cold right now. So where does that factor into this matchup?
This one.
The
to me is,
overall best player here is Kyle Tucker, and
Yes.
it's not debatable.
This is where it's 50-50 for me. This one was the more difficult one, I'm glad you said that because I felt like I was being a homer by saying this. But I'm giving the edge to Kyle Tucker. I do think he turns it around against a team that he's been successful against all season long. And no, he didn't look good. He didn't always look good for like the last month of the season. He hasn't looked good in the postseason so far, but he is the better player. It's not even close. So I'm going Kyle Tucker.
Yeah, I'm with Josh on this. Kyle Tucker's a better player than Adolis Garcia, and while Garcia's had a phenomenal season, Kyle Tucker has been better, and I believe that's going to show over the course of this 7-game series. Like, on top of that, too, Adolis Garcia is also, like I mentioned earlier with Josh Young, one of those guys who strikes out a bit. Yep. And Kyle Tucker is going to be a guy who's going to consistently put together really, really strong ABs, and that's going to tell over the course of the series. I just believe it will.
I think you're going to get consistent, way better defense as well. And that defense, we saw in the first round for the Astros and the ALDS. The defense absolutely matters in this series, and I think you're really going to see it there for the Astros. That is, did we get it all? We got all the positions, correct? Or did I miss the DH?
We kind of talked about DH, but we're going to give it to the Astros, right? Like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It's a tight spot there, though, too, because they're going with Garver, obviously. Yeah. Quite a bit in the DH spot. So I'm going lean heavy Astros. I don't think I picked a single Ranger other than
Homer.
The catching position. Yeah, I am a homer.
I picked one Ranger, and Andrew picked one Ranger. Did you pick two?
I picked one.
A new alliance was formed.
You guys didn't ask me on the catcher. I would have picked the Rangers at catcher.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. So you would have picked two Rangers.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, you picked a Ranger? Never mind.
I picked the Ranger.
Yeah, you picked a Ranger at catcher. Dang it. No new alliance is formed.
There's never going to be a new alliance.